Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to cast your wax ring. The casting machine uses centrifugal force to fill the flask, and we're going to wind it so that we can generate this force to push the metal into the mold. This is a dangerous process. Please follow the safety guidelines on your handouts. Some guidelines are specific to this technique. You must know the different parts of the casting machine, so please read your handouts. Your metal should be ready. If you are using scraps, it should be clean, no solder, and cut into small pieces. It should be weighed exactly. In my example, I have 26.64 grams, and this is the weight that I calculated on my casting weight calculations worksheet. For your safety, vacuum the top of the machine to remove any debris. Could be bits of investment or bits of metal that could go flying when the machine spins, which would be very unsafe. Before we start casting, let's have another look at the centrifugal machine. This is the tub. We will turn it 3 times to wind the spring. This knob will lock the machine in position. This is the movable casting arm with the crucible and the cradle. The cradle slides open for the flask. One more thing, depending on the size of the flask, a counterweight might be necessary. This is where the counterweight is located. There are 2 positions or slots for a heavy or medium-sized flask. For this demo, we are removing the weight because we are casting a small flask. Now we wind the centrifugal. Make sure your feet are well planted on the ground, as it takes some strength to do this. Place the knob at the top at midnight and turn to the right 3 times. You must hold on to the tub with your other hand. To lock the machine, hold the knob pulled slightly towards yourself, go a little bit past midnight to the right. Let the machine come back slightly until you hear a click. It is now locked. Place the casting arm at 90 degrees. Okay, it is casting time at last. At this point, the burnout is finished. The oven should be at 900 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the casting temperature for sterling silver. It should remain at 900 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes at least before casting. So now with the tongs, I'm going to take out the flask out of the oven. You would make sure that you are taking the right flask out. Check the initials, check the weight, and put the flask in the cradle with the opening or the button facing towards the crucible. Now, this is very important. The flask must be perfectly centered and level, and you should check that it fits into the grooves at the back of the cradle. And now you can slide the crucible and make sure it fits tightly against the flask. With your protective glasses on, turn on your torch and warm up the crucible until it glows. We are going to put half the metal into the crucible. And melt it. And add the remaining metal and melt it too. And we'll add a little bit of borax flux at this point. Check the back of the crucible to make sure all the metal is melted and to make sure there's no lumps. Now it's time to unlock the machine, grab the side of the machine, go to the right a little bit, and you'll hear the click. And at this time, release the machine and lift up your torch at the same time. You must wait for the complete stop of the machine before you can do anything. It takes a couple of minutes. And at this point, with your heat-resistant gloves on and the tongue, you're going to remove the flask from the machine. And you can see that there's nothing left in the crucible. All the metal was pushed into the mold, which is a good sign. Slide the cradle open and grab the crucible with the tongs carefully, and we are going to let it cool for a while, but let's have a look at the button. You should see the button of metal at the top. Turn it over so that it can cool slowly. Now it is time to quench the flask in water, but first you must check that the flask has completely cooled down. The button should no longer be glowing. With the tongs, grab the flask and quench it in the water bucket. Slosh in the water back and forth for a while to break down the investment. Do not touch with your hands yet. The metal could still be quite hot. Use a fork or your fire tweezers to remove the investment and to release your cast piece. The screw and the button should also be cast. And remove the last bits of investment. And the next step will be to scrub and clean the ring. So that's it for now. Take your cast string and the flask to the sink to scrub and clean them. There are different tools and brushes there that you can use to do that. Wash the flask and leave it to dry near the sink. To clean your ring, you can use brushes or dental tools. If you use metal tools to clean it, be careful not to damage it. If there are little bits of investment that are still stuck on your piece or inside it, the next step will be to put your piece in the ultrasonic cleaner to clean it completely. And the final step will be to pickle and rinse. That's it, we're done. Thanks for watching.